Why do old guys enjoy golf? The older you get, like when you're young, people don't bother you that much. I mean, like the existence of other people might bother you, but it's not like, you know, as a 15-year-old, you're constantly being asked like, hey, do this. Hey, your electric bill just came in. Hey, you're just trying to get to work, and then like people are cutting you off on the highway and stuff like that. I'm not saying you have a necessarily a less stress-filled life for sure, but like on average, yeah, probably the average 15-year-old's life is like more unfettered than the average 50-year-old's. I think when you reach a certain age, it's nice to be to have a good excuse to be outside for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and be unbothered. Maybe you don't have the best game of golf at all time, but you know, while you're out there, your phone's on airplane mode. You can't be asked to do anything. It's like, I think it's like the same reason like why I started enjoying flights when I got older. First is, oh, I have to sit in a chair for 6 hours. Oh, it's so irritating. Now, like the night before a vacation, when you're getting everything prepped and packed and making sure you got all the bills paid that are going to come due while you're away on vacation, to actually just like be on the plane and nobody can bother you. You just put on a movie. The only thing that bothers you is the bilingual in-flight announcements that constantly interrupt your kino cinema, watching Dunkirk on a 4-inch screen, while also watching Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates with no sound in between the seat backs in front of you because you're watching it on the person in front of you screen, the way Christopher Nolan intended. I travel for work. Flying is the worst. Well, if you're one of those like insane people that is like making slide decks on the airplane, I could see why you feel that. No doubt about it. But like as a person who works at home and then on the airplane, like I basically can't do my job, it's kind of nice to just sit in a chair and every once in a while someone comes around with a Coke Zero. Flying is terrible because in most cases it's pretty much your whole day. Yeah, but you're traveling like probably thousands of kilometers. Like it used to take you, I'm not saying like, oh, back in the day, people used to get their legs amputated. So like you should just be happy that you have diarrhea. I'm just saying like, you know, how is flying the worst? It's better than like literally every alternative. Like if you're going from Seattle to New York City, what's your preferred way to do it? Because you said it's the worst. You didn't say it's not fun. You said it's the worst. Okay, then fucking drive. It'll take you 4 days. It'll cost you $500 in gas, and you can't watch a movie while you're doing it. High-speed rail? High-speed rail would still take you, like, if it existed in America, which it doesn't, it would still take you, like, 3 days to get from Seattle to New York City. Country's wide as hell. I lived in South Korea. The KTX is amazing. You know, it's awesome to just sit. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. You're basically just sitting in a chair, like, versus flying. That being said, to get from Seoul to Busan takes like 4 hours or something like that, but the country is only like a 5-hour drive from tip to tail. The US is just, I mean, it's built different, man. It's a wide boy. Trains are nice because they're smooth. You know, I'm just saying, like, a flight is pretty smooth. Occasionally you get like turbulence, don't get me wrong, and very, very, very occasionally you get such violent turbulence that people without their seatbelts get thrown up against the overhead compartment. This is anecdotal. All I'm going to say is I've flown 100 plus times and I've never seen it. I would say at least 70% of the flights I've ever taken have had no discernible turbulence at all. Maybe a little bit of light rumbling. And then like 25% of the remaining 30 have had enough turbulence that they tell you to put your seatbelt on for some of the flight. And then like 5 in 100 flights, you're kind of like, this thing's getting a little bumpy. But you ever been scared on a flight? Only like a few times, which is actually saying something because I was really afraid of flying when I first, when I first started to fly. So when have I been scared when flying? There's probably like the second flight I took in my entire life. I was flying out of Las Vegas and the plane made like a turn. So that wasn't even something I should have been afraid of. Literally, the plane just turned. And I was like, I didn't expect that. Then, a few years later, I was landing in Sweden, and there were some crazy cross breezes. So the plane was kind of like, it was approaching, we were in final descent, approaching the runway, and we were like coming in straight, and then the wind would have us go like that, and then you would hear like the right engine go like full power, and it would be like, and you're like still going down. Credit to the pilots. It was a smooth landing. They made it happen. And then also, like when we landed in Ottawa to visit my parents, like a few months ago, it was windy as hell. But I've never been worried that like the plane is going to crash mid-flight. I'll leave that worry up to the pilots. Not a great drive there, but also like most of the times that I've ever been worried while flying has been my own paranoia.
Nah, that's not
Like the first few times I flew, you would like sit in the chair and you'd be like, that smells like industrial coolant. That smells like industrial lubricant. Is everything okay? Like you're debating, like, am I going to put my hand up and be like, excuse me, flight attendant, is that smell normal? I kind of smell like, I don't know, like maybe one of the engines is on fire or something like that. You'd like to think that maybe the pilots would figure that out during the pre-flight checklist or whatever that takes 90 minutes. And then eventually you're just like, you know, they'll figure it out. You just kind of come to terms with it. Also, I don't know if this is like troubling, but like when I was younger, let me preface this by saying I don't want to die. But when I was younger, I was like terrified of dying in a plane crash while flying. Nowadays, I'm just like, I'm more at peace with it. I'm like, you can't, they're highly rare events. If I'm up in the airplane and it experiences explosive decompression or something like that, it's my time. What can I do? I'm not gonna, you know the 2x2 grid? What happens if you worry? If you worry and something happens, you suffer twice. If you worry and it doesn't happen, you suffered once for no reason. If you don't worry and it happens, you suffer once for good reason. And if you don't worry and it doesn't happen, you didn't suffer. I'm not saying forehead, just don't worry. But I'm saying, you know, if you think your worry is somehow adaptive, if you're like, oh, I need to worry just in case, what's my game plan in case the fuselage of the airplane separates in half while I'm flying? Don't feed that beast, okay? Feed the beast of, what if it doesn't happen? What movie am I going to watch on the airplane? This is a hole-in-one. I didn't think it could happen. Dear Penthouse.
Yeah, not a bad effort, that one.
I will say my only hope, if I'm ever involved in like a plane crash situation, because some plane crashes happen like fast and you just die, or you go unconscious and then you die in like a couple minutes. But some of them are like, you know, like a boat sinking, like you know something's not right, but the pilots can kind of like almost save it, and then you got to descend like 25,000 feet before things really get chaotic. But I just hope that while the plane crash, if I'm in a slow one, while it's happening, I just hope they keep the in-flight entertainment system on. Because I want something to like distract myself while we're plummeting. I don't want to, if I'm going to die anyway, like I don't want to be scared while I'm dying. I just want to like keep watching the rest of my movie, and then like, you know, I know in my head like it's over, but at least I'm not going to go out like afraid or as afraid. I can't believe I'm going to fucking die watching X-Men Apocalypse, man. Oscar Isaac, what are you doing? Funniest movie to die to? I don't know. Like, almost all of them would be pretty funny to die to. Because that's not how most people go.
And Henny, what's he looking at here?
Setting up here from about
White Chicks. It's so funny to me that White Chicks is like a certified classic now. It was like my go-to movie to make fun of. But now it's like, the people are legitimately like, they don't make movies like this anymore. Did you, by the way, I didn't know this. Did you know White Chicks is actually filmed in Vancouver? I'm not even messing with you. And I watched it like a few months ago, and for the second time, I might add, I didn't even notice that it was Vancouver. They hit Vancouver really well. But then someone said they filmed this scene on the beach, and it was like the middle of winter, and everybody involved with the production got a cold. And I was like, well, that explains why Sean Wayans' nipples were so hard.
Looking really good.
I thought he was just excited.
Yeah, that's lovely.